No one expected the weakest figure on the battlefield to become its final variable. A freshman stood between victory and ruin, wielding powers that even the heavens hesitated to acknowledge. And when lightning turned black, fate itself began to tremble. If you enjoy my way of explaining and storytelling, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really motivates me to keep creating. Freshman Mu Chen. When Mu Chen's calm yet resonant voice echoed across the vast and solemn mountain peak, the expressions on Lin Zheng, Zhou Qingshan and Gu Tianyan instantly froze. A strange glint flickered deep within their eyes. They had never imagined that the youth standing before them was merely a freshman, and yet it was precisely this freshman who had risen above countless peers in the hunt, emerging as the very embodiment of strength among the students. The absurdity of such a fact made Gu Tianyan inwardly shaken. Back when the three great generals were still students themselves, freshmen were not even qualified to participate in the hunts, let alone stand as the strongest representative. To think that such a thing could happen now. Your batch of students is truly interesting. Lin Zheng slowly shook his head. His gaze shifted toward Shen Kangsheng, whose imposing presence stood tall and unwavering, not inferior to his own in the slightest. His voice carried a faint chill as he spoke. However, I hope that youth truly lives up to the rumors. Otherwise, his lips curled faintly. We'll have no choice but to conclude that your batch of students isn't worthy of respect. Haha. Shen Changsheng tightened his grip on the golden spear in his hands and burst into a heroic laugh, his aura soaring. Senior brother Lin Zheng, you can rest assured. Our batch of students will definitely win no matter what. Oh, is that so? Lin Zheng smiled faintly. Then he stepped forward. Boom. In that instant, boundless spiritual energy erupted from his body like a tidal wave, carrying with it an overwhelming pressure. The clouds that lingered above the peak were scattered, violently torn apart by the invisible force. Heavenly completion stage middle phase. Lin Zheng had not restrained himself in the slightest. With a single step, he revealed the full extent of his cultivation. The countless students gathered around Spiritual Light Mountain felt their expressions subtly change as the pressure swept over them. Too strong. Among all the students present, perhaps only Shen Kangsheng possessed the qualifications to stand before Lin Zheng and still speak with ease. Heavenly completion stage middle phase. A sharp light rippled through Shen Changsheng's eyes as blazing intent surged forth. As expected of the former first-ranked expert on the heavenly rankings, with a fierce stomp, bang, the earth trembled violently as an equally vast surge of spiritual energy exploded outward, centered on Shen Changsheng himself. Golden light flooded the horizon, meeting Lin Zheng's pressure head-on and forcibly resisting it. Shen Changsheng's cultivation had likewise reached the heavenly completion stage middle phase, no weaker than Lin Zheng, in the slightest. He's incredible. Excited cries rang out from all directions. Awe and unhidden admiration filled countless eyes. Though the two stood at the same cultivation level, Shen Kangsheng was clearly younger. Yet his power was not inferior at all. If both were of the same age, Shen Kangsheng would undoubtedly surpass Lin Zheng by far. The overlord of the heavenly rankings truly lived up to his name. Not bad. Even Lin Zheng couldn't help but nod faintly, a trace of appreciation surfacing in his eyes. His feelings toward the Northern Heavens Spiritual Academy ran deep. Seeing a junior surpass him brought not only sighs of nostalgia, but genuine gratification. At this moment, Shen Changsheng was worthy of being treated as an equal opponent. As Lin Zheng and Shen Kangsheng confronted one another, Li Xuantong and Zhou Qingshan also unleashed their full strength. Though their spiritual energy was slightly inferior, both had reached the heavenly completion stage initial phase. When their boundless energies collided, thunderous booms echoed through the air. Their opponents were evenly matched, each seasoned in combat and skilled in their techniques. With such balance, determining a victor in a short time was clearly impossible. Thus, countless gazes gradually shifted, landing upon the towering peak where the third battle unfolded. There, the disparity in strength was the greatest. Among the three battles, This was the one most likely to determine the final outcome. It seems you've become the most critical key. Gu Tianyan withdrew his gaze from the distant clashes and turned to Mu Chen. With his keen perception, he could tell that the other two battles would likely end in stalemates. If that happened, then victory or defeat would hinge entirely on this fight. If Mu Chen won, everyone would pass the hunt smoothly. If he lost, then all efforts would amount to nothing. Mu Chen pursed his lips, his expression solemn, but he did not respond. Your strength may not be outstanding, but your courage is. Gu Tianyan spoke indifferently. This position isn't something an ordinary person would dare to accept. He had once stood in this very place, bearing the weight of countless expectations. He knew exactly how terrifying the pressure was. Yet Mu Chen still stood firm. That alone was exceptional. Though the pressure here is immense, Mu Chen replied softly, someone has to step forward. Gu Tianyan nodded. He stepped back 2 paces, his hands tucked into his sleeves. The mountain wind howled, whipping his fiery red hair until it danced like blazing flames. Since you have such courage, he said slowly, I'll allow you to make the first move. His pride would not allow him to strike first against someone so much weaker. Then, my thanks, senior brother Gu. Mu Chen did not hesitate. At this moment, he was already at a disadvantage. To waste such an opportunity would only invite disdain. Gu Tianyan nodded, faintly satisfied by Mu Chen's decisiveness. Mu Chen took a deep breath. Without another word, his body drifted backward, retreating into the air. In the next instant, he sat cross-legged mid-air, his eyes slowly closing. Gu Tianyan was momentarily startled. Then his eyes narrowed. Spiritual seals were condensing around Mu Chen's body. So, he's a spiritual array master. Interest sparked in Gu Tianyan's gaze. Mu Chen's mind had completely calmed, shutting out all external distractions. He sank into deep focus, striving to grasp that miraculous sensation, the heart-eye state. Against someone like Gu Tianyan, he had no margin for error. The moment he acted, he had to unleash his strongest method. Arranging a rank 5 spiritual array was his greatest trump card. Though Mu Chen was only a rank 4 spiritual array master, he could temporarily step into rank 5 by relying on the heart-eye state. Yet this state was elusive, something he could only touch occasionally. Thus, he could only rely on persistence and luck. Spiritual seals continued to form steadily and unhurriedly, spreading through the air. All eyes were fixed upon him. Even on the northern public square, countless gazes were locked onto Mu Chen. Everyone wanted to see what he could possibly use to contend against Gu Tianyan of the heavenly completion stage. Initial phase. On the high podium, several elders narrowed their eyes. Oh, Dean Tai Kang's star-like gaze rippled faintly as surprise surfaced. These fluctuations. A white-haired elder smiled gently. Interesting. This Mu Chen has remarkable talent in spiritual arrays. He's already brushing against the heart-eye state. Not simple at all. As his words fell, boom, the spiritual energy around Mu Chen suddenly erupted. The previously formed spiritual seals shattered, then recondensed at an astonishing speed. Their number skyrocketed, 200 and more. Rank 5 spiritual array. Shocked cries erupted everywhere. Gu Tianyan's expression finally changed. He stared at Mu Chen with genuine astonishment. So that's why hundreds of spiritual seals surged skyward, merging into the void. The world's spiritual energy roared as if responding, forming vast and intricate patterns across the sky. An enormous spiritual array slowly took shape, faint yet awe-inspiring, radiating tyrannical pressure like twin black lotuses revolving in the heavens. Mu Chen opened his eyes and exhaled deeply. He had succeeded. Impressive. Gu Tianyan spoke slowly, lifting his head to gaze at the massive array. To think you can form a rank 5 spiritual array. So this is your method? Mu Chen smiled faintly. With a flick of his wrist, a rust-covered metallic sphere appeared. He snapped his finger. Boom. Another surge of spiritual energy erupted, no weaker than the first. 2 rank 5 spiritual arrays. At once. For the first time, the calm expression on Gu Tianyan's face turned grave. Little by little, the gigantic light array revolved slowly in the void. Frightening waves of spiritual energy poured forth, compressing and intertwining with one another, giving birth to chaotic spiritual hurricanes that raged violently across the heavens. Even the very fabric of the sky showed faint signs of distortion under that terrifying pressure. When two rank 5 spiritual arrays manifested simultaneously, the might they exuded was nothing short of astonishing. Countless people stared at the scene before them, shock flickering across their faces. They had anticipated that Mu Chen might have hidden trump cards, but none of them had imagined that he would unveil two rank 5 spiritual arrays in one breath. If these two arrays were unleashed together, even Gu Tianyan would not dare to treat them lightly, would he? The gazes of the students participating in the hunt burned hotter and hotter, yet it was not blind excitement that filled their eyes. It was hope carefully restrained, yet fiercely alive. Among the three battles, Mu Chen's confrontation was clearly the most crucial, the linchpin upon which everything hinged. If Mu Chen could force a draw, then Shen Changsheng and Li Xuantong would undoubtedly exert their full strength to secure stalemates as well. In that case, the final outcome would still belong to the students. On the other two towering peaks, both sides engaged in fierce combat had also sensed the commotion. Shen Kangsheng and Li Xuantong subtly relaxed their tense bodies upon witnessing the spectacle. They too had been worried about Mu Chen, but now they understood. This junior truly had not stepped onto the battlefield unprepared. As for Lin Zheng and Zhou Qingshan, their expressions shifted slightly as realization dawned upon them. No wonder Shen Changsheng and Li Xuantong were willing to entrust such a critical battle to a freshman whose cultivation was merely at the heavenly transformation initial phase. So this Mu Chen was far from ordinary. It seemed that this hunt had indeed become far more interesting than expected. Two rank 5 spiritual arrays. Gu Tianyan slowly raised his head, gazing at the two enormous constructs suspended in the sky. The pressure they emitted caused his robes to whip violently in the wind, his scarlet hair dancing wildly like flames. At last, his expression turned solemn, truly solemn. To be able to stir up such momentum with cultivation at the heavenly transformation initial phase, Gu Tianyan spoke, slowly, his tone heavy. "You truly are remarkable." "I merely seized an opening," Mu Chen replied, shaking his head lightly. "If this were a battle of life and death, I wouldn't have been given enough time to arrange my spiritual arrays." With his current strength, arranging a rank 5 spiritual array was still a formidable challenge. His success depended heavily on fleeting contact with the heart-eye state, something he could not reliably enter at will. As for the spiritual array seed, that was nothing more than borrowed power, a trump card meant to intimidate. Yet at this moment he had no choice but to reveal it. After all, Mu Chen knew full well, a single rank 5 spiritual array would never be enough to defeat Gu Tianyan. "The result matters more than the process," Gu Tianyan replied with a faint smile. "As for seizing an opening, that too requires the ability to grasp it in the first place." As his words fell, a scarlet glow slowly ignited within his eyes. In the next instant, his arms spread apart, and flame-like crimson spiritual energy erupted violently from his body. The temperature of the surrounding Tiandi soared instantly. The ground beneath his feet dried and cracked, as if scorched by invisible fire. "Go ahead," Gu Tianyan said calmly, laughter laced with indifference as crimson flames engulfed him. "Let me see just how powerful your two rank 5 spiritual arrays truly are." Mu Chen inhaled deeply and nodded. Without wasting another word, he lifted his head and gazed toward the two massive arrays in the sky. Aside from the demonic lotus spiritual array, the array formed by the spiritual array seed was known as the mysterious Yin. Spiritual array also rank 5, though only at the lowest tier. Its power was comparable to that of a heavenly completion initial stage expert. If both arrays erupted simultaneously, it should be enough to contend with Gu Tianyan. The hesitation in Mu Chen's eyes vanished. His hands snapped together into a seal, Boom! Rumble! At once both colossal spiritual arrays began to spin violently, torrents of terrifying spiritual energy pouring forth. The twin Black Lotus arrays revolved in unison, their petals slowly folding inward. At their cores, black light compressed to its absolute limit, erupting outward. Where the two lights converged, a glowing lotus nearly 3 meters tall took shape. It pulsed rhythmically like a beating heart. With every pulse, waves of devastating energy rippled outward. Crackle, crackle. At the same time, the mysterious Yin spiritual array erupted. The chill of the world condensed instantly, forming a black stream at the array's center. As it flowed, splashing endlessly, bone-freezing cold spread in all directions so intense that even the air itself froze solid. Between the throbbing Black Lotus and the flowing black stream, the heavens turned cold, dim, and oppressive. Interesting. Flames surged around Gu Tianyan as he slowly clenched his fists. "Senior brother Gu, please." Mu Chen's voice rang out sharply. His slender finger extended lightly, tapping the void. Ripples spread through space. Boom. The glowing lotus shot forward, while the black stream surged alongside it like a colossal black python, frost spreading in its wake and freezing the air itself. Swish, swish. The two devastating attacks tore across the sky like lightning, racing toward Gu Tianyan under the tense gazes of countless spectators. Hearts skipped. From Spiritual Light Mountain to the northern public square, fists clenched tightly and eyes widened in unison. Gu Tianyan's expression turned utterly grave. He brought his palms together. Crimson spiritual energy erupted like a blazing inferno. Heavenly inflammation, divine art. Flaming dragon's protection. A deep roar resounded. Boundless spiritual energy condensed violently, transforming into a massive, lifelike flaming dragon. With a thunderous roar, it coiled beneath Gu Tianyan, its colossal body radiating indestructible brilliance. He used his strongest defense. Lin Zheng and Zhou Qingshan's pupils contracted slightly. Even Gu Tianyan was feeling pressure. Roar. As the flaming dragon settled into position, the two attacks arrived. Without mercy. Bang! A muffled explosion shook the heavens. A spiritual shockwave nearly 1,000 meters tall erupted outward, cracks spreading violently through space itself. Mu Chen activated the soaring dragon technique instantly. A dragon shadow flickered, and he vanished, reappearing thousands of meters away just before the shockwave engulfed him. Stabilizing himself, Mu Chen stared intently at the dust-shrouded peak. He didn't know the outcome, and he had nothing left. He couldn't repeat such an attack, nor could he obtain a second spiritual array seed. The same thought gripped everyone watching. If the battle could end here, that would already be a miracle. Shen Changsheng and Li Xuantong remained still waiting. Everything hinged on Mu Chen. At last, the dust slowly dispersed. A figure emerged. Gu Tianyan stood tall atop the peak. A chill ran through countless hearts. He had endured it. He had withstood 2 rank 5 spiritual arrays. Was he truly this strong? A collective sigh echoed silently. Then, Gu Tianyan's body trembled slightly. His sleeves disintegrated into dust. Fresh blood dripped from his left arm, while his right arm hung limply at his side. One arm temporarily crippled. Under countless gazes, Gu Tianyan circulated his spiritual energy, evaporating the bloodstains. When he raised his head again, deep gravity filled his eyes. "Fortunately, I didn't lower my guard," he said slowly. "Otherwise, I might have already lost." Mu Chen laughed bitterly. One of the 3 great generals was indeed no simple opponent. He had given everything and only managed this much. Gu Tianyan stared at Mu Chen in silence. No one needed to explain. Without his rank 5 arrays, Mu Chen had no remaining methods. Gu Tianyan would not allow him a second chance. Amid the suffocating silence, under the watchful eyes of countless spectators, Mu Chen slowly closed his eyes once more. When Mu Chen closed his eyes once more, shock instantly rippled through the crowd. Even Shen Kangsheng and Li Xuantong's pupils violently contracted. From the looks of it, Mu Chen still hadn't exhausted everything. He still had something hidden. At this moment, it was obvious that Mu Chen would not attempt to arrange another spiritual array. His speed was far too slow, and Gu Tianyan would never grant him a second chance. If he wished to continue this battle, he had to rely on a completely different method. But what method could possibly allow someone at the heavenly transformation initial phase to contend head-on with an expert of the heavenly completion initial phase? No one knew. Thus all eyes locked tightly onto Mu Chen's figure in the sky. Gu Tianyan's brows faintly furrowed, though he did not believe Mu Chen was merely bluffing. After personally experiencing the might of two rank 5 spiritual arrays, he no longer dared to regard the latter as an ordinary freshman. Still, what exactly was Mu Chen planning to use? That question stirred genuine curiosity within him. After all, ordinary methods would never bridge such an overwhelming gap in cultivation. In mid-air, Mu Chen's eyes tightly shut did not keep everyone waiting long. Crackle. Faint arcs of lightning began to flicker around his body. His skin gradually took on a silvery sheen, as if forged from metal. Low peals of thunder echoed quietly. The lightning god physique. A trace of doubt and disappointment flashed through Shen Changsheng and Li Xuantong's eyes. They had both cultivated this physique before. Though powerful, it was far from capable of making up the vast difference between Mu Chen and Gu Tianyan. If Mu Chen intended to rely on this alone, the outcome was already obvious. Mu Chen's eyes slowly opened. Lightning shimmered within his pupils, arcs dancing wildly around his body as a destructive aura faintly radiated outward. His strength has increased. Gu Tianyan's eyes narrowed slightly, yet the disappointment within them grew heavier. Still not enough. This sentiment was shared by many. Even the surrounding students at Spiritual Light Mountain furrowed their brows, worry surfacing in their eyes. Though Mu Chen's aura had clearly strengthened, it remained far from sufficient to challenge Gu Tianyan. But Mu Chen paid no heed to the gazes flooding the sky. Within his sight, there was only Gu Tianyan. In the next instant, he stepped forward. His body transformed into a bolt of lightning and shot ahead. Gu Tianyan did not move at all calmly, watching Mu Chen streak toward him like a flash of thunder. He shook his head faintly. Is he desperate, rushing in like this? With a helpless smile, Gu Tianyan stopped pondering further. His palm turned slightly as scarlet spiritual energy surged forth like dancing flames. Boundless fluctuations rolling outward. Whoosh! Mu Chen's speed was terrifying. In the span of a few breaths, he appeared directly before Gu Tianyan. Without the slightest hesitation, he hurled a punch forward. Black flames of spiritual energy erupted from his fist, carrying violent fluctuations that shattered the ground beneath. Cracks spider-webbing outward under the sheer force. The furious fist wind sent Gu Tianyan's hair fluttering violently. Yet Gu Tianyan merely shook his head. His fingers clenched. In the next instant, he threw a punch of his own. A collective sigh echoed silently in countless hearts. In such a head-on collision, Mu Chen had no chance. Some even turned their heads away. Wang Tong and the others forced bitter smiles, shaking their heads in resignation. Su Linger's face turned pale. Only Luo Li remained calm, her gaze fixed unwaveringly on Mu Chen, because she knew him too well. No matter how desperate the situation, he would never act without purpose. Under countless unblinking gazes, the two fists were about to collide. But at that very instant, Mu Chen's free hand formed a strange, mysterious seal. Hum, hum. Thunder roared violently within his body. Deep within his meridians, a jagged black lightning bead suddenly exploded. Bang! An indescribably terrifying force erupted outward like a bursting dam. Black lightning liquid flooded through his meridians, surging wildly. Agonizing pain ripped through Mu Chen's body. His eyes turned bloodshot, veins bulging violently. Yet he endured it, gritting his teeth as he frantically activated the lightning god physique, forcibly absorbing the lightning's destructive power. At the same moment, bang! The two fists collided. Black lightning erupted from every pore of Mu Chen's body, a faint mist of blood spraying outward. Boom! A thunderous explosion shook heaven and earth. The towering peak trembled violently, as if it were about to collapse. The ground caved in massive cracks, tearing outward like writhing black pythons. Shattered boulders exploded skyward, blotting out the heavens before disintegrating into fragments mid-air. Everyone stared in stunned silence, eyes wide, unable to see what had occurred within the blinding chaos of erratic spiritual energy. Shen Changsheng, Li Xuantong, Lin Jing, Xu Qiushan. All four stared intently, expressions grave. Then, a deafening thunderclap rang out. From within the chaotic radiance, a figure was violently flung outward. 2 feet slammed into the stone, carving deep grooves as the figure slid backward for nearly 100 meters. The rocks along the path were scorched black. Who was it? All gazes converged instantly. As the radiance dissipated, a head of blazing scarlet hair was revealed. Gu Tianyan. The pupils of countless people dilated violently. Some even forgot to breathe. How is that possible? Whether at Spiritual Light Mountain or the northern public square, disbelief echoed everywhere. The one sent flying was Gu Tianyan. On the podium, the elders' expressions turned grave. Even Shen Changsheng and the others struggled to comprehend what they were seeing. 2 rank 5 spiritual arrays hadn't forced Gu Tianyan back like this. Yet this direct collision had. Gu Tianyan slowly raised his head. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. His eyes, filled with shock, stared toward the peak, still shrouded in chaotic energy. "You're truly formidable." His hoarse voice rang out as he wiped the blood away. "I never imagined you still had a trump card even more terrifying than 2 rank 5 spiritual arrays." Footsteps echoed from within the radiance. Thump! Thump! They grew heavier. A figure emerged. Hiss. A collective gasp rang out. Muchen stepped forth. Cracks covered his body as black lightning liquid poured endlessly from his pores, wrapping him completely. Arcs of black lightning danced wildly while his dark pupils brimmed with savage destruction. Gone was the calm, gentle youth. What stood before them now was like a being crawled out from the abyss, a harbinger of ruin. "What is that?" Shock filled every face. That terrifying aura, was it truly something a heavenly transformation initial phase cultivator could possess? The lightning god physique. Shen Changsheng and Li Xuantong muttered doubt flooding their eyes. It was familiar, yet incomparably stronger than anything they knew. On the podium, the elders fell silent. Dean Taikang's eyes narrowed slightly. "This fluctuation," he murmured, "it's divine black lightning." Unexpectedly, that brat actually has a strand of divine black lightning within his body. "He's courting disaster," a white-haired elder sighed. "That's something even sovereign-level experts wouldn't dare touch lightly. Yet he dares to keep it inside himself." Dean Tai Chang merely smiled faintly, his gaze brimming with interest. "Another monster has emerged from the Northern Heavens Spiritual Academy." On the peak, under countless gazes, Muchen slowly lifted his head. Black lightning surged around him as he fixed his eyes on Gu Tianyan. A hoarse voice steeped in destruction rang out. "Let's continue." He stepped forward. The earth trembled. That's all for today's content. See you in the next part. Support me by becoming a member. It will give me more motivation. Thank you so much.